Just realized my shirt says I failed to save the world. I thought it said I saved the world. So it says I have one viewer right now, so if you are watching this, please say something in the chat. You can just say hi, it's fine. Did I set this to public? Yes. Man, I hope more people show up because what we're doing today is fairly complicated. Just getting things set up. Okay. There we go. I need that. There we go. I should post this here. Add an external link to this so that you guys don't have to Google it or try to type it off the video. Okay. Still one person. Looks like this is going to turn into a tutorial video instead of a class. Oh, you know what? I didn't post the... I never posted the link. Oh, man. Okay, here we go. so that's going. Okay, so now we should get some more people in here. Hey, someone joined. Oh, more people. Okay, good. 5 people. Wow, you guys were ready. Okay, if you are experiencing buffering on this video, then you need to just rewind a little bit. So I'm streaming this live through some software, and I think I need to reset my routers or something, but internet's going slow, which is weird. And then anyway, so it has to, the software still records, but it takes a while to get onto YouTube. So if you get to a point where it starts buffering, then just rewind a bit. I think that should fix it. Okay. Okay, so we had 5 people, and then a bunch of people disappeared. Okay. Maybe you guys are having worse internet problems than me. Comes with the territory, right? If we could, it would be nice to make Wi-Fi free everywhere. All right, so last time I talked about setting up Amazon Workspace VMs for you. And so I did all that on my end. you should have received an email. Check your spam folder, but check your Lakeland email. Andy, remember you used your Gmail, I think. But to use that, you can follow this link. Here, let me zoom in a bit. You can use this link, Workspace Client Download, to bring you to this page. Okay, and then you just pick whatever you're using. I've never tried this Android one. I'm not sure what that would do. You could try the web access, which allows you to run the VM in the browser. I never used that one because we couldn't use it on campus, so you can try it. If you have a Windows machine, get this Windows client. If you have a Mac, get the Mac client. All right. And I guess if you have Linux, you can either use that. You're going to have to do a lot of extra work to fit it to whatever distribution of Linux you have. But I don't think anyone uses Linux in this class anyway. Anyway, if you do, that's great. This will be a lot easier for you. Okay, so once you have your client downloaded, so if you're waiting for it to download, you can just pause the video until you have it installed, because I don't want to overwhelm you. Okay. You'll open the client, and let's set this. Where did it go? Oh, there it is. It hadn't opened yet. So you open your client. In the email you received will be a registration code that you'll have to enter in to your client. And then I can't remember if it just sends you the password or if you have to set it up through the email. In Linux, you have to type your password a lot. So, at least in the way we have it set up. So, when you're choosing your or if it gives you a complicated password, we can figure out how to change that. I think it says it in the email. If not, we can figure it out. I would change it to something you're going to remember and that's easy to type quickly. I know that's counterintuitive to password security, but at least make it something you're going to remember. All right, and then try to log in, and for now, let's see, got 4 people. Okay, I need to set this window so we can see it. Guess I'll have to log in first, because it won't let me show that window yet. Oh, you know what? I probably just have to reopen this. Boop. That song, I got music stuck in my head. There it is. Okay. Fancy transition. Okay. So now I'm logging in. Nice. It actually hides the username and password box in the video. Here's my registration code. That is not my password. Don't try to use it. You know what? Another pet peeve of mine is websites that you can click show password on. That's bad enough, but the ones that have it on by default, Those really aggravate me. Might take a while to connect. Oh, and I didn't think about this, but I'm going to be connecting to a VM, and I'm also uploading to YouTube at the same time. I'm hoping my internet can handle all that. It's currently frozen, so we'll see what happens. You guys, if you have any questions while you're waiting, we can utilize the chat. So, if you're in here, please say hi, just so I know who's here. Oh, it worked. Yay. Okay. Gotta change the window. Oh, that looks fun, huh? Alright. I promise it's not that bad. Okay, so if you manage to get logged in, you will see a window with a graphical user interface that they put on top of this Linux. And I like that because it's going to help you transition into using the command line in the class. So, I'm going to maximize this. Actually, I'm going to go to settings. Nope, I'm going to go to view, enter full screen. Okay, if you do that, it'll basically look like you're on a different computer on your computer. Okay, so the main thing you're going to be using here is you'll probably use a browser in here. You can use the built-in Firefox. What we're going to do, we'll install Chrome, which I prefer. So, again, if you're still waiting on your password or to log into this, you're having problems, pause the video and then just play once you're ready, once you get to this point, and we'll go ahead and start on installing the software that we'll need for this course. Okay. So when you open the terminal, all right, what you're looking at here is a place to type commands. All right, here is the name of your computer and the here's your username, here is your domain. Okay. So, let's talk about some basic commands. I have a cheat sheet on the course you can take a look at, or just Google Linux cheat sheet. And you might want to print one out or have it available, because it takes a while to, some people pick up the commands right away, and some people it takes a while. So it's helpful to have a reference. All right, so let's just talk about some basic functions here, some basic commands. All right, a useful one here is ls. And when you run that command, it shows you all of the files and folders in your directory, in the directory that you're currently in. Okay, what directory are we in? Well, when you see this tilde here, at the end, that means you're in your home directory, or the directory for you as a user. Okay, and so I typed ls, and we can see I've got a lot of files that I've worked on, from before, but all the software, I uninstalled it so that I can walk you through this installation process. And every semester, we'll have to, I have to update this process, and we're going to run into, hopefully it'll go perfectly fine, but that's, in any semester, that's never happened. So I'm going to, since we are, let's see, I usually keep this as white so you can see it on a projector, but since you're looking at a screen, we can change it back to black. If I can remember how to do that. If you prefer white on black, you can follow these same steps to adjust that. Okay, so we'll go background color black, and text color white. All right. So this is probably what yours looks like by default. But if you want to mess with it and change it to whatever you prefer, it won't break anything, so help yourself. Okay. Also, you guys probably won't have this, but just so you know for the future, and I've posted a command that'll fix this for you. I've just been putting off finding this setting in here. You'll see these core.number files. When your when your VM or when your Linux machine crashes, it copies the contents of memory into one of these files. So if you are so inclined, you could go through your entire memory to try to figure out what happened, or have a program do it for you. But these files can be very large, so let's see if I can find that command. I guess I'll have to use Firefox for now, that's fine. Also, if you need to get outside of the VM, back to your normal computer, and you're in full screen, all you have to do is, if you move your mouse to the top, it'll bring down this bar, and you go to View, Leave Full Screen, and now you can access your actual computer. All right. Some things to keep in mind. Your actual computer is not directly connected to the VM. It's almost like a window that lets you manipulate another computer. I think you can turn on a setting that allows you to copy and paste text from outside the workspace into it. I can't remember if this software has that or not. But let's go ahead and switch this back over to here with a fancy transition. So proud of myself for doing that. Back in the course. Okay. What was I coming back here for? Oh, that command. So, where did I post that? Oh, there it is. All right. So, in here, let me move this up to the correct module. Put this in Amazon Workspace. Okay. So this command here in Linux will allow you to automatically find and delete all those core files so that you can free up some space. All right. So when you're starting Linux, this is probably the last thing you want to see as a command, because look at this, what is all this stuff? We'll get to that. Okay. Here's the name of the command. These are modifiers. This actually right here between these quotes is something called a regular expression, which is used to match patterns. So basically what this is saying is find any file that starts with core, dot, and then any 4-digit number and delete it. Okay? Okay, so got this loaded up. We'll switch back and I'll just find this in the VM. Okay. Oh, there. Okay, someone talked in chat. Hey, David. Good to see ya. Okay, got a transition. Back to the VM. Nice fade. Go back to full screen. Okay, so I've got Firefox open in here. And I'm going to go lakeland.instructure.com. Let's go to Canvas. Your browser does not meet the minimum requirements for Canvas. Okay, we'll see if it explodes. We'll have Chrome soon enough. Have to update this and it will be fine. Alright, but anyway, let's just, I don't need to do that right now if I can just get in here. Okay. Because I just want to copy this command. Control C. Now, the terminal, if you press Control V in here, it's going to put this up capital V, and that's not what you want. So if you hit Control Shift V inside the terminal, you can paste. Okay, this is very important to remember if you're going to be copying and pasting commands or anything inside the terminal. To copy things out of the terminal, you have to select them and then Control Shift C in the terminal. Okay, so outside the terminal, Control C, Control V. Inside the terminal, Control Shift C, Control Shift V. All right. So if I run this command, searching every file and folder for this. And let's see, let's go ahead and do this. And let's make this as easy to see as possible for you guys. Sorry about that. Can I do one more? Nope. All right. All right. So we didn't tell it. There's nothing in this command to tell it to give us any feedback like, oh, it worked. So we just have to assume it worked, but we can check. Now if I do ls to show me all the files and folders in this directory, all the ones with 4 numbers were deleted, and all the ones with 5 numbers are still there. So I'll show you a thing. I need to run it again, but this time for 5 numbers. So I'm sure you could adjust this so it will look for any anything with core and any number of numbers after it. But regular expressions can be complicated to write, and it's been a while since I looked at them, so I'm just going to add another number manually here to save time, because I don't want to waste your guys' time. And then I run that again. Man, that took a while, huh? Okay. That time it did not take as long. Now if we do ls, all those core files are gone. All right, we can move on. And so hopefully we won't be crashing these, but sometimes, it was mostly on campus, the network would sometimes drop. Okay, So moving on. So you have the workspace client downloaded and logged in. And now I'm just realizing you probably aren't going to use full screen right away until we get Chrome, since you can't watch the video while this is in full screen, unless you load it in Firefox, which is fine. So anyway, the Linux cheat sheet, you might want to print this out or keep it open so you can remember the commands. And so a previous student who knew Linux helped me create this script, which installs the necessary programs that we need. All right, and so you can see it's been a while since this has been updated, which means it's worked so far. The files we need are here. Okay, so we'll be downloading those, but we'll be using GitHub. And then the directions are down here. Okay. So go, do this, do this. So I'm going to walk you through this. All right, so I think I have this already on here, so I'm going to get rid of it. It's called work-space-files. Okay, so if I do an rm -r, if I'm remembering right off the top of my head, that means delete, basically. And the -r means delete recursively, which means if you try to delete a folder with this -r, it'll go down through the hierarchy and delete everything for you. So a little more complicated than Windows with a graphical user interface for deleting things, but you can see here you are able to use regular expressions, so you can target very specific things, find all kinds of file types. Basically, you can find anything in your computer with a command. So, and with a graphical user interface, you have to use, if it's Windows, you have to use the search. And I don't know, I don't really trust that that much. Okay, anyway, so I want to put rm-r, so I want to delete everything inside, including the folder of workspace files. Let's see if that works. Oh, okay. There we go. So one thing is, some of these files were write protected, so it asked me, are you sure you want to get rid of this? And it looks like they were the Git files. So for the version, connecting to the version control. All right, so the first step is downloading the files, or getting the files. I keep saying downloading, but we're going to do it from the command line. So we're going to do, we do use this in another class. So I would make a folder to help you organize files from different classes. Okay, so to make a folder, it's mkdir, make directory, and you just give it a name, and it's going to create it inside of whatever directory you're in. So now that we're in Linux, I call everything a directory. You can, in your mind, just connect that to the word folder. I might call it folder, I might call it directory sometimes. But it's the same thing. For our understanding, we can just consider it the same thing. All right. There may be some differences. I don't know. Someone that knows Linux could tell me. Okay. Anyway, we're making a folder. You could call it webscripting2 or ws2 or whatever you want, so that you ITT072 fall 2020. Okay. Now, in Linux, you don't want to use dashes. If you want to, and you can't use spaces. can't use dashes, you can't use spaces in the names. So what you do is you use underscores if you want to put spaces, if you want to make it easier to read. Okay. So I can make a folder. How do I know it was made? I can check in the directory by doing ls. Now we have, here we go, ITT072 fall 2020. Okay. Now the work I do in here, I want to do in that folder. So I need to go to that folder. All right. And we do that. Now I'm confusing myself. I think in Linux, is it dir or is it cd? I think it's cd for change directory. And then you could either type out the full folder name, or you can do I and then hit tab, and it fills in for you. And then, because there's a few files with ITT, so I put a 2, hit tab, it finishes it for me. Once you get used to using tab in Linux to finish file names and stuff, and commands, you get a lot faster. It's going to be really slow in the beginning and painful. It's totally worth it, though. This is one of the skills that my advisory council basically says it's a lot easier for us to hire your students if they know the Linux command line. So do please take this very seriously. All right. It's life or death. Not really. All right. Let's see if that works. Okay. So change directory into this folder. So now this directory. So now I can see here where my in here on this line, it shows this is the folder I'm in. Okay. And so if I do ls now, it won't show anything because there's no file in there. All right. If you want to make a really short file, I think you can just do cat I. Let's see what that does. Nope. Okay. Do cat I. Okay. That's not that one. Anyway, if you wouldn't just make a file out of nothing, you can do touch, and I'll just call this index.html, just to show you can make a file, and then ls. Now I have index.html. Maybe I'll do another directory so I can organize my, I really recommend putting your, from now on, the first exercise was kind of review. For the project, there are really more projects from now on. I would create their own directory. If it involves you downloading code from GitHub, you can have it make the directory for you when you clone the repository. Okay. Now, hopefully you read the prep material about using Git. I will be going over it here, and we'll be using it a lot. So if it didn't make full sense, make sure you ask questions as we go. You need to have it make sense. Okay. The only things I'm going to teach you are the basics you need to move on to more complicated stuff. So that includes GitHub, Git, and Linux. All right. So what's more fun than taking a class full of involved projects? It's also learning how to use a web framework, Linux, and Git basically simultaneously. Okay, so hopefully at some point it'll click for you. If not, you need to ask questions. Okay. So inside of here, I want to do a git clone. This is the command to download a repository and create your own local version. So what you need to do is find the handle here. Why is it not popping up? Workspace files. Did I make this private? There it is. They changed this button. Okay. You click this code button, I guess. I'm going to have to redo this video every year. All you have to do is copy this link. So you can hit copy here. And then remember, don't hit Control V, Control Shift V, and then hit enter. And then it's telling you the status. It says cloning into a new folder called Workspace Files that it created. Okay, and then a bunch of fancy stats for nerds. All right, now if I ls, I can see my workspace files, and then if you remember how to get into another folder, it's cd. I'm going to type W and hit tab, so I don't have to type the rest. All right. Now I'm in this directory. Let's see what's in it. We have an anaconda install.sh, install.sh, and php myadmin install.sh. I think all we actually need is the install.sh, so we're ready to run this script, the install.sh script. So the directions are down here. Okay. So we need to change the file permissions on this file so that we can execute it. And so this command here, let's break it down. Sudo is super user do, which allows you to basically, I'm trying to translate it into something that you guys might understand, gives you administrative privileges at the highest level for this computer for this one command. Okay? And what the reason it does that is your base users in the system won't have access to certain things and certain commands. All right, so it's kind of hiding part of it. But since we're the only ones using this machine, we know the password. So if you run this command, it's saying super user do, give me administrative privileges to run this command. chmod is changing the file permissions. 755 is a certain set of file permissions. I think it's 7 is local ability to read, write, and execute, I think. And then 5 is read and write, I think. And so, and the second number is for, you can Google this, maybe I should just look it up so I'm not guessing. Really after this, we don't really mess with it, but it's important in Linux to understand file permissions. All right. On some random thing. Okay. So if you want to know the file permissions of your files in a directory, you can run this command here, ls-l, and that'll give you more details about the files instead of just their name. Okay. So it says the first 3 characters represent the permission for the file's owner. Okay. Where's the number thing? Here we go, symbolic mode. No? Where is it? Here we go. Octal permission representation. So if you add these numbers together, 0, 1, and 2, and 4, you combine 0, 1, 2, and 4, which are these individual permissions. So we had 7 in the first spot, so that's the user of the computer has read, write, and execute. 5 only gives you read and execute. So we won't be able to change the file, or we will, but anyone looking from the outside will be able to run it and read it, and that's fine. You probably, in most situations, you don't want to set write in any of the other positions other than the first. Because it's, I believe the second spot is users on the same network, and then the third spot is users outside the network. I think. It might explain it in here. Anyway. All right, so if we run this, it should edit that file. Okay, so when you run a command with sudo, it asks you for your password. So remember earlier I said you have to type your password 1,000,000 times? This is where you have to type it one of those 1,000,000 times. You can't backspace, and it doesn't show you how many characters for obvious security reasons. Since you're going to be typing it all the time, it'll be easy for someone to look over your shoulder and, you know, look at the characters or count your key presses. So anyway, I mean, if you're at home, no one's gonna on this machine, no one cares. Also, if anything happens to your machine, I can just reset it back to its initial state, and since we're saving everything on GitHub, it'll be easy to just pull your projects back down. So you'll really appreciate cloud storage. Okay, so now if we do ls-l on the install.sh file, we have execute ability. Okay, next step. I'm going as slow as possible because this, you do not want to mess up the steps, because then it's really faster for me to reset your entire computer and run them again than try to undo if you make a mistake. Okay? All right, so now we have to install the sh, the install.sh, which is actually just a file full of commands that will automatically connect to servers to download the software we need. And it'll answer a lot of the it'll download it, install it, answer some of the questions that you have to answer during installation, but we'll have to answer a few ourselves. So anyway, let's get to it. And I think after this, I don't think we're going to do these other ones. They're optional. And Anaconda's huge, and I don't think we need it. Okay. If we do, we'll go back and fix it. So remember, Control-Shift-V. And I think I remember there being a problem with this command, so I'll go ahead and edit it once we figure it out. Nope, it's working. All right, so this can take a little while. At least it did on, well, I guess it doesn't matter how fast your computer is. This is how fast the Amazon this is VM. It's just a bunch of hardware connected together digitally to form a virtual computer. Just pulls resources and builds it on the fly. But anyway, they're Amazon, so everything, they handle all the updates for your computer. You can never have a hardware issue, which is really nice. I do think it's about 20 bucks a month if you want to get your own workspace after the class is done. A lot of I was introduced to this by a web developer. It's great for working outside of your whatever network you may need to work in. There's such a broad application of everything I'm showing you. But the idea is that you would become a web developer, but these skills are good for a lot of different things. Okay, so it's not done until you see the prompt for typing a command, so don't freak out and don't press anything while it's doing this until it asks you a question. All right. So I'll pull up the chat here once I have Chrome and see. You guys are probably like, let's see. I should have checked sooner. I'm going to make sure you guys can actually see what I'm doing. That would be a nightmare. Oh, good. You can. Okay, I'm going to check chat here. We are unable to see where you are typing. Okay. Can you see? Hey, Joel. Can you see the terminal here? Let's see. Okay. David, let me know. Are you able to see everything? All right. Give me a second here. I'll come back. Let this run. Hey, Joel. Sorry, I feel like I'm standing in every direction. $6,998.12. Yep. Now, is your company name Loan Depot one word? Okay. You probably get this all the time. My college is Lakeland College, and it's one word Lakeland, and no one gets it right. So, you probably see Loan Depot a space all the time. People are talking about it. I don't want to be that guy that's like correcting people though. Right. Oh, okay. It looks so weird. I thought this was the part I ripped off of the check, but this is the actual check. Yep. So I can see it now. You mean the check? Okay. Yeah, I filed a claim because I had some hail damage on my skylight, and then they came out and apparently this is what I think. Again, just skeptical. safe out there. Yep. Bye. Okay. Where are we? Okay. I guess it didn't have. Oh, you know what? I think all those questions are from installing those other two things. Okay, let me check the chat. Oh, cool. All right. I'm going to complain about this constantly, and you know how much I repeat myself, but there's a delay on the recording, so sometimes it takes me a while to see your chat. I set it to the setting that is the closest to shortest wait, I guess, because I'm not like streaming Hearthstone or some like game where I don't want people seeing what I'm doing in real time, you know. But after doing these live streams for this class, I'll tell you, it's actually really easy to do. So that's awesome. There's a lot of editing that I have to do. Okay. Okay, so we got that installed. So, okay, don't see Chrome in here. I think I have to add it to the bar. So if we go to Applications, Internet, good, there it is. We'll take that, throw it down on the bar. Actually, I think there's a command that you can use to open it. Okay. So if you don't know the command, you just look it up. How do I open Chrome on command line Linux? Oh, I keep calling it command line, but you can call it a terminal. Sometimes I type too fast for the VM to get all the characters. And then other times I just make typos, so. Terminal Linux. Okay, how do I open, here we go. Google, how do I open Chrome on the terminal in Linux? Windows directions, there we go, that's what I want, right? Here we go, what's it say? Okay, that's how to install it. I guess I want the command. I want the specific command. Command to. Okay, nope, not Windows still. There we go. This is why the internet is so powerful. It's almost like a backup brain when you can just look up all this stuff. Okay. Google-Chrome. Okay, that's really familiar. You can have multiple terminals open, which is really nice because you might be doing different things in different places. So I don't know why I have two now, but I'll go back to this one because I made it bigger. And all we have to do is Google-Chrome. Okay. All right, I don't know what any of that means. Sounds scary. Man, I was hoping this would go away. Okay. Anyway, I have to do that every time I open Chrome on here. I messed it up, so I gotta fix it sometime. Okay. So we want... let me see if I can log in. My My bookmarks are too old. They don't have the things I need. All right. Man, is show password on or off? Okay, good. Google usually pretty good. You can't really afford to make mistakes. Okay. Two-factor authentication. Only someone with a phone can log in. Oh, wow. This makes it so much easier. You just have to click a number instead of copying and pasting or typing it in. Okay. Loading. All right, here we go. Oh no, now you guys all have my number. I'll have to take that out of the, the recording. So I had a Hotmail account from like grade school that I created basically every account with. And then I upgraded to Gmail, so I still have a million things on Hotmail, a million things on Gmail, and a million things on my WIU email from when I went to college, and then some things on this. So upgrading email addresses or changing them can be a giant nightmare. I put off doing it as long as I can, but I wouldn't stick with Hotmail. If your main personal email is Hotmail, I highly recommend choosing something different. Okay. Make sure I don't run out of battery. Okay. So now we're in here. Now I can open Canvas in here, and I don't have to keep switching, and I can open the live stream. How's everyone doing? Times are hard. It's a good time to use any extra time that you may have to, look for internships, even if they're online, do programming exercises. Doesn't that sound riveting? Okay. So we are doing this module right now, and we did everything. Now we're ready. I think in the previous video, I wanted you guys to take a look and do this. Yeah, it's due today by midnight. So if you're watching the live stream now, we're going to walk through this together. Okay, bring up the assignment. Wait, did I want you to do this one on Replit? Oh yeah, we were going to do it on Replit first, and then do it on our VM. So I guess I'll walk you through it on the VM, because there's a few different steps on the VM to do. Because Replit has its own storage and its own built-in web server, so you can test things on Flask. It's all contained in one area. But there's not a good way right now to tie in database to that. So we have to use the VM so that we can tie in every modern part of a web app, so you get the full experience. You will not go off half-cocked if you take this seriously. This is above and beyond what you'll see in most programming courses at the community college level, because I am trying to teach you enough to get the job, get you up to interview ready. So once you get in your foot in the door and get a position, anyone that gets through this program is way more than qualified to do that, because you'll learn quickly. If you get through this program, it means you can learn quickly. All right, here we go. So we're going to follow some of these setup steps. At some point, I'm going to update this for myself, because this is material from Launch Code. But it's actually really good material. That's why I use it. Okay. So the first thing is we're going to want to save this on GitHub. So you need to go to GitHub and either create an account or log into your account. Oh yeah, I was going to pull up the video. What kind of horrendous, weird clickbait videos are going to be in my homepage on YouTube now? Okay. Weird. I swear they don't do very well at finding videos I want to watch. Okay. Oh, right. I just need to copy the link here. Okay. Just so I can see the chat and I'm not showing you guys a black screen for 3 hours. That would be a nightmare. Oh, I'm in the wrong browser. Okay. Let me close this so I don't keep doing this. There we go. Log in. You know what's great about a website is when they hide the login. There it is. Sign in. I guess if you use Chrome and you save your profile to Chrome and connect it to your Google account, once you log in once somewhere, as long as you're using Chrome and you're logged in, I just don't even have to keep track of my username or password anymore. And with as many as you have to keep track of, well, I guess I didn't know this one. I think it'll ask me to remember it though. There we go. Some more two-factor authentication, which is annoying, but it's worth it. Where did it send it? Oh, email. Okay. Apparently I was in the middle of paying my water bill and then get that finished. Okay. GitHub. Come on. There it is. This one you have to type. That's okay. 48960. I might cut out these login parts. I don't want anyone getting enough information to cause me problems. Okay. Anyway, once you're logged in, for every project, this is how you're going to start. You need to create a remote repository through GitHub that you'll clone onto your VM, and then you're ready to start. That's the simplest way to start. If you create your project folder and then try to connect it and create it as a local repository and then try to connect that to the remote repository, the steps are a lot more confusing. So just remember, step 1, go to GitHub and click New Repository. And then basically, repository is just another fancy word for a kind of a folder, but it's a special folder that keeps track of all the relevant files and versions and things. So this is Hello Flask, and I'm going to name mine a little different because I don't want to conflict with other ones. All right, they're recommending fuzzy succotash. I think I'll pass on that. Description, nah. Public, I believe it has to be public. Make it public for the assignments, because that's how you'll turn in your repository link to me. I'll clone it and run it on my VM. That's how I'll test things. Okay. Definitely include the README file. Gitignore is .gitignore is a file which you list the files in your repository, in your local repository, that you do not want to include in the remote repository. So some programming languages create all kinds of helper files, I guess is one way to call them. Like if you change settings, it saves that in a file, sometimes in a text file or a XML file or something. Anyway, those are settings that are for you, not for whoever downloads this. So you don't want to include those. You don't want to include any extra files that aren't needed. But our projects are so small for this. Let's not worry about this. I might talk about it more later. I do want to talk about this, though. Choose a license. So a lot of you folks ask me this question, which is, how do you know what you can use, what code you can use? Because on your assignments, a lot of times you'll find little bits and pieces, and you'll copy and paste it into your code, and that's fine. No one's going to care about that. But if you move up to the next level of creating software for other people to use, and you want to use some libraries or include software that other people have created, you need to understand which license they're using. So on GitHub, it'll show you if they select a license. It'll let them know. So there are a lot of different software licenses. They're all about who can use your code or software and who can, how they can change it, or if they can change it, if they need to credit you, if they can sell it, all of that stuff. So I usually fall back on the MIT license. And this tells you about what the different licenses are. So okay, but they give you a link to the site that does. Choosealicense.com. Okay. So here, I want it simple and permissive. The MIT license is short and to the point. It lets people do almost anything they want with your project. And so when it says that, putting the MIT license on here does not give people the ability to manipulate your repository. What this means is they're allowed to copy it into their own computer or make their own repository and then make any changes they want to that copy, and then they can use it. Okay. Making and distributing closed source versions. So they can use your software and distribute it with a more restrictive license, I believe. You can click this if you want to read more specifics. All right, so the MIT license allows people to use your code for commercial. So you're only deciding for this repository. each repository can have a different license. So if you use the MIT license, it can be, someone can take it and use it for commercial use. They can just distribute it. They can change it. They can use it privately. To be able to use it in any of these ways, they have to use the MIT license in it, and copyright notice must be included with the licensed material, which is this copyright notice, I guess. Okay. Okay. Liability and warranty. We don't really worry about that right now. Anyway, I'll change it to MIT license. All right. And since we only chose the README, well, I guess it puts the license file in there too. All right. Now we have an empty repository. So on GitHub, you know here's me, here's the repository I'm in. And we're going to focus more on this code tab. You can look at the others if you want. We only have these two files. So let's go ahead and start our project. So we have, what's going on here? Chrome. Oh, it's giving me, since I opened Chrome in this terminal, I think it's giving me all the errors from the websites that I'm visiting. So I'm just going to close this terminal. That might close Chrome, though. Can't remember. Anyway, we'll minimize this one and we'll just open a new terminal, because we want to use this one for setting up our project. All right, so the terminal starts at our root directory, or our home directory for this user. It's where we have, on this level and below, we have, total control of this stuff. And what did I call it? IT 72 fall 2020. Okay. So we're going to go into that directory. Okay, and then we have our workspace files, and I have this random file I created. I might get rid of that. Okay, next is, so that's the rm command, right? Now I need to get the files from GitHub. So what I'm doing is I need to communicate with the remote server, communicate with the remote repository. It'll copy everything into a local repository. All right. So the remote repository is a folder that is, off your machine somewhere else. In this case, it's on GitHub.com. Okay. And you can use that you can use that as basically a way to distribute your code or save it. Okay. So we're going to do a git clone. We're going to use the git command of clone, okay, which just copies the remote repository. Okay, and we need so remember, don't clone mine. You have to create your own and clone that, okay? Or actually, if you go to mine, since I made it public, you can actually hit well, it's not going to let me do it. Oh, right here. You would see, if you go to this, you would see a fork button. That just copies the remote repository from someone else's account into your account with a button press. Okay, then you can clone it down and make changes. All right, so I need that link to this repository, so I'm going to copy, and I'm going to keep saying this, Control-Shift-V, not Control-V. All right. Do. All the nerdy stats are there. If we look, ls, we now have I now have the repository here, local repository in this directory or folder. Okay, so I'm going to go in there, hello dash Flask, and I'm going to hit tab. I didn't need to type that much, could have put an H and hit tab, but you just have to get used to it. I haven't used Linux since the last Web Scripting 2 class, which was last semester, but it's one of those, you guys know, programming, commands, using a computer, it's practice. You just got to practice. So make sure you're doing this stuff every day, you know, even if you just say one of the words out loud, every little bit helps. Okay. So in here, we see those two files. It's time to open, I believe with the install.sh, it should have given us a fancy text editor called Visual Studio Code. Now, the hardcore developers and Linux people, not to make a stereotype, but they would prefer to write all their code in the terminal, okay? And then because there are and we'll take a look at how to do that later, but there are times maybe you need to access a web server that doesn't have a graphical user interface. You'll have to do everything through the command line, okay? So it would be helpful to know how to do that, right? How to basically do anything you could do with a graphical user interface with a terminal or command line or commands. Hopefully, after using this enough, I had this realization after I used this command line, just how much more powerful the command line is than a graphical user interface. All right, it's so much easier to make things for a make commands that do things than it is to have to design a user interface for it and all kinds of stuff. So this looks ugly. It's hard to read. It looks like a nightmare. You got to remember a million commands. You can't just click on things and drag them. We'll look at how to copy files from one place to another. That's probably a lot easier in Windows or in any kind of graphical. It's just moving a file from one place to another. But in Linux, you could sift through an entire file structure and find and copy all the certain specific type of files to somewhere else. Like, there's all kinds of crazy things you can do. All right. So, and it's a little bit like programming because you'll use regular expressions and different things. Okay. So we have that. Okay. So, oh yeah. So when you're inside of the directory of your project and you want to start working, what we're going to be coding in is called Visual Studio Code. It's a very popular text editor right now. I don't know if this is a totally accurate way to describe it, but it's like a step down from like an IDE in terms of, well, it's free, but it has a ton of support, so it has 1.5 million plugins and extensions that allow you to customize it for exactly what you want to do. You know, you do HTML and CSS design work, you can get plugins that make that easier. You're working on a C# ASP.NET Core web app, you can get plugins for that. You're using Flask, you can get plugins for that. Python. Anyway, it's powerful. So if you do code, that opens Visual Studio Code. If you put code space dot, it will open the directory that you're currently in the terminal. So here on the left, I can see here's my directory or folder. Okay, these are the two files, so I can open those and take a look. You can close this stuff. This is for if you are finding this on your own and no one's telling you how to do it. Okay, so there's that license that says you have to do this and that if you want to use this. Here's the README. So you can, give some background information and a description of what you're doing, or ask people to contribute certain things to your project, all kinds of things. So the options over here is we have your files, so we in here the most. You can sync this up to GitHub. We might do that later to speed things up after you are used to using the command line, right? And then extensions. I just want to show you this. So let's look at Flask. And it's a good idea to look at the rating and the installs of these plugins so you don't waste your time. So this one has only 2,000 downloads, and it looks like no one's rated it. So who knows what that is. Here's one, almost 100,000 downloads, 5 stars. I guess it's only rated by 2 users, but a lot of people downloaded it. Is that just because it comes up as the first result? I think it comes up as the first result because of the number of downloads and the name. Anyway, this is how easy it is. You can install it. And this says, Flask snippets collections initially ported from PyCharm, Sublime Text, I've used that. So this is a thing that was created for, I'm guessing these are text editors or IDEs. And this was a plugin for those, and they had adapted it to this. Okay. That's an unfortunate shortening of this. So I might look into how to use this, but you're free to use, whatever you want. But don't make it more complicated than it has to be unless you like a challenge. And I'll always be here to help you, so that's good. So, moving on back to here. Okay. I think go back to the directions. Okay. So we skip over Conda. We don't need that. That was for Macs, if you want to use a Mac, because I think launch code was built for people with Macs. But I think Mac is more closely related to Linux in terms of using the terminal than Windows is. So skipping down. Okay. We don't have to do any of that. We do want to do this. They did touch main.py, so if you remember, that would create a main.py file. Since we're using a text editor here, we can just create the file ourselves. So new file, lowercase main.py. And that's the file we will be running that starts our test server and our app. Sure. Okay. So Visual Studio Code also has a terminal inside of it. I think it's a little more limited in what it can do compared to the normal terminal. I don't use it all that often. Okay, so we got our main.py. We can click this, close that if we don't need to look at the files. I don't care about this extension right now, so I'm going to close that. There we go. Now we're ready to start coding. All right, how far into the YouTube video live stream are we? Did I close that? Did I ever open it? Did I ever get the link? Okay, sorry. Oh, I opened it in Firefox, and then I never opened it in Chrome, right? Okay. I just get so excited about programming, I forget you guys are here. Oh. Yeah, this is it. All right, is there chat? Okay, let's see if you guys are, oh, nope, no one's, looks like no one is having problems, I'm gonna assume. And does it say in here, for watching? Okay, so I'm not talking to empty cyberspace. So we're going to look at the directions, and we're going to be using Visual Studio Code. So it wants you to put this code in there. It wants you to type it, but I'm going to go over what everything means here. And this will test whether or not that install file correctly installed Flask. Hopefully it did, because then we'll have to stop the stream while I go figure it out. Okay. Anyway, so what this does, it grabs the Flask object from the Flask module. So what I'm worried about is whether or not this file will be able to see that module. We'll see. Well, let's do it now, and then I'll go over the rest. So when you're ready to test your program, what you want to do is go into the terminal, and you do make sure you're inside of there, and you can see the main.py. Type Python. So you're going to use Python to open main.py or execute it. Oh, derp. You have to save the file first. Okay. The file was empty, so it did nothing. Awesome. I'm so happy that worked. Okay, so now when you do that, the terminal is now locked running this web server. That's running on your machine. It's a loopback IP, so you can, no one's going to be accessing this, which is good, perfect for debugging and building. This is not, so it says, do not use a development server in a production environment. So do not reroute this out so that people can access it. It's just not, it's meant for one person to use it. Okay. Or very few. Okay. So here, for anyone that has taken C# or Python, you're going to see some stuff in here. You know, in Python here, we're creating a variable. We're assigning this. And so if we highlight over it in here, I guess it's going to tell us. You might have to have the linter installed. So let me know in the chat if when you guys are here, when you highlight over this capital F Flask, you can see this. So this is a class, okay, and this is calling a constructor to create a new Flask object. We'll store a reference to that object in the variable app, so we can from then on access that instance by using this identifier of app. Okay, and then we turn on, we change this value inside of this associative array, or an array that is where the indexes are strings. Okay, so this is a way people commonly store attributes and settings. So we're setting this setting to true, which will spit out errors when we have them into the terminal, so we can use those for debugging. Okay. And then this right here is basically our web app. What it does, Okay. Up here, this is an attribute that gets attached to this function. Okay. App.route, we're setting inside of the web server a route. So you can kind of think of that as a web address, so that when Flask gets a request for the home page, instead of the web server delivering index.html to them, it will run this function. Okay, and it will in the function, if whatever you return is the file, will be turned into a file and delivered to whoever wanted it. Okay, so save this. Oh, I already saved it. Okay. Shortcut Control S. Okay, we got it running. Okay, so to test it out, we have the web server running, we have our app ready to test. We just have to visit this address in a browser. Okay, so let's see if I can type that in Chrome. There we go. 127.001. And then we want that on port 5000. That's the port it's listening on. And so here, this is our web page that got delivered. All right, I think I already showed you this anyway on Replit. So you can see here there's a lot more setup steps and things to keep track of than on Replit, but you're very limited on Replit. Here you have total control and you can basically do everything. You can build any web app that you want, really. Just depending on how complicated it is, it's going to take you longer. All right. Moving forward, I want to show you, I think I already showed you, you can create different routes. Maybe I'll just reiterate that real quick. So let's create a couple of routes. And remember, in Python, indents are important, okay? That's how it recognizes the code. And I'm using tabs because I'm so lazy, I'd rather hit tab one time than space twice. But I usually prefer two spaces because it takes up less space vertically or horizontally on your text editor. Which is nice because I like to stay zoomed in for you guys. Okay. Anyway, rambling. I think I'm also potentially way past the time for the class. So if you need to go, you can just watch the rest later. Okay. I'm almost done anyway. Let's see. Setting up AWS. We did that. And we did the install. Okay. And we looked at some Linux commands. So what I want you to do is see if you can get this to work. Really important step. Okay, let's make sure I save this. We'll do banana. So this doesn't break. If you have errors in your Python code, it'll just crash the server. Does not have time for errors. All right, so I'll save that. Okay, I have completed my project or my assignment. It's in a state that's working. Oh, if you create multiple functions, you have to have different names. So we'll call this banana. Function name is important on the on your side, programming on the back end. No, this isn't going to be seen on the front end. This will though, so make it something that's meaningful to the content, right? so I can refresh here. Oh, if you change to Python and save it, you have to reopen the server. So we rerun it in Python. Okay, I have some kind of error in my code here. And it's right here. So what am I missing? Oh, I guess I forgot to save. Okay, I'm way past embarrassment on making mistakes, so. Not just for this class, but just as a teacher. There's nothing worse than a teacher or an instructor that is way too proud. Okay, so that's that. Maybe I want to go to the banana page, so I have to manually type it. Okay. You guys don't have to add the banana and apple, but if you want to play around with it, that's fine. Anyway, I'm done. I'm ready to upload to the repository, the remote repository. And so the technical jargon would be, I am done updating the file on my computer. The first step after that is, if you ever need to stop the server in here, you hit Control-C. All right, the next step is saving those changes to my local repository. So I'm going to be adding a new version of the file. Every previous version that I've created, that I've put into my local repository is saved. So the nice thing about that is, let's say you add something and it just breaks everything, you can just revert back to a previous version. It's nice, it has all your versions of your code saved. That's why it's version control software. All right, anyway, the command is, first we have to add the file to our local repository. So we do git add python.main. Whoops, main.py. Okay. Okay, and then we do git commit, and then you usually type a message in that command. So let me see if I can do that command differently. So you can do it. Okay, so if you just do git commit, this pops up. This is the terminal, the text editor built into the terminal. Okay. We'll spend time later learning how to use this. If you ever get stuck in here, you could either close the terminal and start over, or there's a shortcut. You hold shift and you hit Z twice. So shift ZZ will get you back for now. That's just the easy way out. And that's a very easy to remember shortcut, right? When I want to close a program, I think of the letter Z. Okay. Capital Z. Okay, see, it's saying aborting commit due to empty commit message. So a commit, you leave comments about what has changed. So I do git commit -m for adding initial Python file. Okay, that's what I'm doing here. Later on, if I add pictures of oranges and apples to these pages, after I do that, I would commit and say added pictures of oranges and apples. Okay, you want to balance your commits in chunks. So if you are working on some feature, if you get to a point while you're working on that into a stable working code, you might want to do a commit, and then you continue on to the next piece, and then once that's working, you might want to do a commit. You can do too many commits, okay? You don't have to commit after you press one key on the keyboard. Okay, that's hyperbole, too much. But if you just write the entire program and then commit it, it's defeating the purpose of the version control. So you can also do too few commits. So you have to strike that balance, and depending on where you get a job, there's kind of a culture in each place that uses basically anything, but every place has its own Git culture, so you'll probably notice like what level of commits they use, or they'll tell you, do more commits or do less on the code. All right, anyway, committing it. Okay, so here's what happened. One file was changed. It says 18 insertions plus. That means 18 lines of code were added in this file. Okay, and then it created this main.py in the local repository. Okay, so the first steps are add the file. So I don't have to add. Yeah, you do. Okay, so you add the files. I think if you do add -a, no, what is it? Oh, git add -a. Oh, what is it? Git add. Here, let me look this up. So we're going to be working with things that have 1.5 million files. You're not going to want to add those all one at a time, right? So while I'm thinking of it, let's go ahead and look at that. Command for git to add all files. Git add -A. There we go. So one thing I forgot to mention about Linux, it is way more case sensitive than Windows. So you can have a file. I could have a main.py with all lowercase. I could have a main.py where the M is uppercase. On Windows, I believe it would keep those as the same file, and if you searched, it would be able to find it either way. Throat's getting dry. Okay. So, oh, I didn't tell you what I was doing on here. If you press up, you can go through all your previous commands in this session, in this terminal. So that's another way to help save yourself some typing. All right. So I don't have to type this whole command again. I just got to repair it. All right, it added everything. I don't think there was anything to add. So if I do git commit -m, right, we add, then we commit. Let's call this test. And then this says, your branch is ahead of the master by 1 commit. Oh, right. Okay, so you add files so that you can commit them. Basically, you're putting the files through kind of what is that called? Assembly line. Okay, you can't commit files that haven't been added, and then you can't move on to the next step, which is push, without committing. Okay, push actually saves it to your local repository. Oh, keep forgetting to put git on there. And then you'll have to provide I'm sorry, did I say local repository? I meant committing it adds it to your Commit adds it to your local repository. Push is how you get it to your remote repository. So I don't think it's set up already. So when we created a repository on GitHub and we cloned that, inside of that folder has all the information about the remote repository on GitHub. So we can do, put our username in. Remember, it's not going to show you the characters, so you have to type your password correctly the first time. You can't backspace. It actually takes backspace as the backspace character, not actually backspacing. All right, so it says, type in my password, username, password. Okay, la la la. These are nerd stats. Okay. So we wrote 3 things, a total of 465 bytes to the remote repository. So we can go back here and see if it worked. I'm back on GitHub. Okay, we refresh. And there is my file I added. If I look at it, I'll see the code I have. There it is. Okay. So we do in actual software development, you're going to be using something, if it's not Git, it'll be something very similar. It's the same idea. I can see the different versions of this. So let's see if I remember how to do that. Zoom out because I might be missing some of the options. Okay. So we're looking at the code, but we want to see the history. Here we go. So I've done 1 commit to the repository, doing that. Let's follow through one more time with this, okay? I am done with this Apple route. I don't want that anymore, okay? So this is changing the local file just on my computer, okay? So I've saved that. Now I need to commit that and push. So I'm going to do git, remember add -a, that adds everything so that you can commit it, git, and you can just write this down and keep it on a piece of paper because it's one of those things you just get used to after you use it enough. So we're doing git commit -m, removed the Apple route. Okay, and so the commit is changing 1 file by adding a line and removing 3 lines. Okay, at least that's how it interpreted it, and so that's fine. And now it's time to push. And gotta log in here. Okay, and now we can see if there's no errors. Make sure you look for errors. If we go back to that, and let's refresh the history first. There are my commits. Okay, and then we can go back to the code. Take a look here. There's no Apple route. We go to, let's go back to the history. And I can say, you know what? I removed that, but I really want it back. I can upload the last commit here. Actually, I haven't done that. I haven't rolled anything back in a long time. If I even have. So where is it? Actions. New. What if this is something I need to do? Let's see. Here's a clock going backwards. That sounds useful. What is this? Browse. I think actually, so at this point there have been 2 commits. All right, and so this gives me like a little bit of kind of an ID that's assigned to this commit. I believe, oops, probably have to do the command. So let's do git roll back, git revert. So this is actually a good picture of what happens, what the different parts are, because it's kind of hard to just imagine with my description. So this working directory, that's the file on your computer. All right. The staging area is where the file goes when you add it. You are adding it to the staging area, so that will be included, the changes to that file will be included in your commit. Okay, and then when you commit, it points the master branch to the new version in the remote repository. So, well, when you push it. When you commit, it adds it to the local repository and it assigns that new ID number. Anyway, that's what happens in the background. I just want to know the command. Okay. Git reset, and then you can use the ID. Or it looks like you can go back a certain number of the revert commands adds a new commit at the end of the chain to cancel changes. Okay. Okay, well, let's try the git reset. That one seems pretty straightforward. So I want to go back to this ID. Can I see that anywhere useful? Can I copy that? I think. Oh, you know what? Here we go. We'll use our web skills. I'm opening the inspector. I will select this here, and then I can just grab it out of the code. There's always a more efficient way to do something. Some people call it laziness. I call it efficiency. You can decide what you think. Okay, so if we do git reset and then Control-Shift-V, I think that's what it was, right? Let's double check before we run it and break everything. So if you haven't used Linux before, I feel like there's a lot of ways you can break things. So it's good that we have the VMs, but break things, I mean, just mess up your installation of Python, or I'm sorry, Linux. So render it basically where the computer won't boot up. I could just reset it back to the original state. You can follow the setup steps, and that, I think it even saves your local files, because that's what I did to mine, and I had my local files still. Just removed all the software and fixed the everything back to the default. Okay, so git reset and then we just put the code. Using absolute command. SHA-1. I don't know. We'll see if it works. Okay, and then maybe what's next? Okay, we want to reset master to point to the commit to back. Use either of the following methods. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so we can check it with git log. See if it's you guys. One second. All right. I was giving away a chainsaw and a leaf blower, and someone finally took it, so it's getting spammed by people who are like, do you still have that thing? I told him I would take it off as soon as it's sold, so I don't want to waste a bunch of people's time. So, which I guess I'm doing to you guys right now. Okay. Come on. Oh, my account, right. Okay. All right. Whew. Giving away things for free is even complicated in 2020. Okay. Where were we? Oh yeah, we did git log. Okay, and then we are looking at adding the latest commit that this sees is adding the initial Python file. And then if we want to see these changes in the remote repository, which we do, I think we can push. Oh, git push. How many times am I going to do that? All right. Rejected. Failed to push some refs. It's behind. It's remote. Oh, duh. So, I think there's an exercise that I'll have you guys do so that you understand the strength of collaborating using GitHub. But if let's say you're working on a project with a bunch of people and you need to make changes to the project, you might all share the same remote repository. And if someone else updates the HTML files for the app, maybe the templates or something, and then someone else adds images, then your remote repository is going to be different than your local. All right. So what it's saying is, I'm not going to let you push this because I noticed you're behind the head of the remote grant or repository. So first you need to do a git pull. So if git push is to move things onto the remote server, what do you think git pull is? Well, let's try it. Okay, we need to add the file, git add. Did I already try to do this? Nope. Okay, then we need to, did I try to commit before adding earlier? That's probably what the problem was. Git commit -m. Reverting, adding Apple back in. So in this case, it would probably be much easier to just type in the code for this kind of a change. But you can imagine it's not often going to be, something that you can quickly do. So, all right. So committed those. Okay, now I do a git pull. And it says merge branch master of blah, blah, blah. So we'll just say, okay. Git pull, merge made by the recursive strategy. All right, let's see what that does. That brings us back. I swear, okay, if you guys want to take the time, see if you can find the way to roll back on here. I swear there is a way. Okay, we're going to refresh. Let's check. Oh, I never pushed. Right. Here. And now we push. Git push. Username, password. All right. All right. A bunch of stuff happened. You just got, at some point, you just kind of assume everything works. All right. Now we go back to main.py. And Apple is back in there. Cool. And we can see that, I guess it just changed that commit. Or did it get rid of it? Let's see. We want to check the history. So we go back to code. We go to history. I swear they moved it. I saw it before. Where is that? Man. Let's see. Oh, is this it? There we go. Okay. So remember from the beginning we created our remote repository first on github.com. That's a very important step before you clone it down into your computer. Adding the initial Python file. So we created the main.py and copied the code into it. And then I removed the Apple route here, and then I used a merge to reconnect back to a previous commit where I added Apple back in. So, cool stuff there. Cool stuff. Okay. For now, that's all you'll need. So the Hello Flask, I put some points on it, but it's really just for practice. Let's take a look at, I know this is like going to end up being 4 hours. I'll cut it down, but we need to take a look at the next assignment, because I think you guys have everything you need now to set this up. So the next one after Hello Flask is Web Caesar. Okay, let's double check that on here. So we go back here to our course material. How'd you guys do HTML? HTML me something, and Now you need to work on Web Caesar. So let's set a due date on that. You could probably fast forward to this part if I forget to remove it. Finished example. Oh, right. Okay. What do we need? Okay, directions are on there. Okay. We don't want to. So we want to submit the URL to your GitHub repository. And remember, to get that, all you have to do is go to your repository, hit this code button, and then you'll copy and paste this into Canvas. That's how you'll submit your stuff. Getting an error with username identity when trying to commit. David, can you give me some context of exactly what the error said? And what I'm going to do is just throw it in Google, but we could figure that out. When did you say this? Probably like an hour ago. Sorry. Okay. So when is this going to be due? Let's see about, because I want to do the flick list with you guys on another day. And that'll probably take a week. So let's shoot for the 20. Wait, what? When was this one? The last one due? Was on a Tuesday. Okay. Tuesday by midnight. Submit your GitHub link. Okay. I think that's everything. Okay. Notify everybody that that has a due date now. All right. Okay, so the Caesar, the Web Caesar. Okay, let's start with, I'll just show you what the web app is supposed to do. Okay. This makes it a lot easier to understand when you can see what it's supposed to do. Is anyone familiar with the Caesar cipher? So it is a basic form of encryption that's extremely easy to decrypt, but it's just a fun thing that you can program in as a practice. So if I say rotate by 1, here's the alphabet. Notice what happens when I encrypt by 1, or rotate by 1. Okay, what if I do it again? And what if I do it again? Or what if I do it that many times? Or you can do -3. Okay, anyway, maybe you can guess what's going on, maybe you can't. I'll show you this one. Let's do hello. I'm going to rotate that by 1. Okay, so if you are using a Caesar cipher with a rotation of 1, all the letters move to the next letter in the alphabet. Okay, if you do 26, what do you think is going to happen? Okay, I thought you could do negatives in here. You can, okay. Anyway, this is the web app you're going to create. Okay, and to prepare you for that, I highly recommend that you look at the prep work from 3 and 4. Okay, you can always go over here to the objectives. Okay, to check out which things you really need to know. Okay, so make sure in the prep work, in the readings and the videos, afterwards you take a look here and make sure you understand what these are. Okay, I try to touch on them too, but every little bit helps. Okay, and then in class 4, what are we doing? Oh, you're going to be putting in forms to accept input from the user. Okay, this thing is okay, so we use app route and string.format and stuff. So if you don't know how to use those, it's all in the prep material. So just look in here, and then you're supposed to be doing, I'm not going to check, but it'll be very obvious. You're supposed to be going through these. This is okay, the web, servers, HTTP, unless you've taken a class with Scott, I don't really talk about these in my other classes. I think it's important in this class, though, because you are working on a web server, and you're building apps to be delivered by web server through a browser, it's important to understand the hypertext transfer protocol and its methods and its response codes, okay, for debugging purposes. And just understanding how HTTP works and that it's a stateless communication, all kinds of things, okay? We did the Hello Flask. If you didn't do it, make sure you do it. Read these. This is optional. I think I already told you guys to look at this. 3 prep work. You are free to go ahead and do flick list 1 and 2 on your own while you're waiting for me to put up the video. I will go over both of those on a video, but in the meantime, you can look at the prep work for 4, get some review on how to do forms in HTML. We'll be using a lot of forms on our web apps. If you don't have a form, you can't interact, right? You need some buttons or, text boxes. Those are all in forms. All right. When you're dealing with taking an input from a user, you need to understand these 2 methods, get versus post, okay? And I'll definitely go over those when they're important. I feel like they just copied a bunch of stuff from the previous one, because a lot of the stuff I saw before, status codes, some videos, string.format, and then what is this review? If you can answer these questions, do it on your own. If you can answer these questions, then you're ready. I've seen that error before, David. So, have you tried this? Git config global David dot, and then you just put your Lakeland email. See if that works. Let me see what mine says. Config, and we want to see user. Let's see if that works. Git config user. He does not contain section user. Oh, username. Username. Let's see what that does. Nope. Okay. user.email. Git config user. So, and then user.name. Yeah, so I just there must be a command for change it. Let's see. If I try git config global james.jmunger at lakelandcollege.edu. Now if I check my username, oh, it didn't change it. Okay, let's look at, let's reuse some of our tabs so I don't end up with a million tabs here. Okay. Git config global. Yeah, I want to make sure I get this in here so people aren't stuck. Good thing it's at the end of the 4-hour video, right? Maybe I should put it in the description. Okay. Well, don't skip the whole 4-hour video, I guess. That's the last one. Okay. Git config list. YC. Oh. Okay. It's setting the properties here. Okay, so we got to do this. So let's change my name to John Doe. What? Oh, did it have a space in front of it? No. Oh, it did. Oh. Derp. Okay. Make sure when you copy and paste these, you're looking at the front of them. Okay. So now if I look at my username, it's now John Doe. So that should get that set up for you, David. Let me know if that doesn't work. Awesome. Yeah, this class is definitely gonna test your guys' patience for learning. If you stick with it, though, every new piece you learn makes you that much more powerful. Your ability is more powerful, and things start to click. Okay, I think we're ready to look at being done, I think. Is that... you definitely feel free to skip ahead to Web Caesar if you want. The post and get methods and the forms are the real tricky part of this. So I think they actually just give you a function. They give you the code for the function that does the Caesar cipher. So this is a good introduction of how you can use other people's code and library in your own things. You just got to make sure, you observe the license limitations. So, trying to look to see if I forgot anything, but I think we're good. So, yes. So get your workspace set up. Get Hello Flask. Try to get that done in there. I'll give you guys some bonus points for doing that. Let's see, not bonus points, but more points if you do it. Let's do, oh, you know what, I can do this. This will save a ton of time. We duplicate. And then I'll rename this one. I guess that's under edit. And this will be Hello Flask Replit. So if you were just going to whip up a web app that doesn't use a database, definitely you can start it on Replit and use their Flask on there. There's almost no overhead doing it that way, which is really nice. But I can only focus on one thing at a time right now. I think I have low blood sugar. I need to eat something. Okay, this is the GitHub, GutHub, not GutHub. That's a much different site. Don't Google that. 100 points still, and then submit your GitHub repository link. You're definitely, I'm okay with if you want to if you already did one and you want to copy the code in the other. I don't really care so much that it works, because I do care that it works, but it's just so simple to understand. You should be able to get it to work pretty simply. What I want is to know that you can get a Flask program running on Replit and on the VM. Because if you can't do that, it's going to be, you just need to get some help so I can guide you. It's my job. All right, let's end this thing before I go on for another 5 hours. Okay. All that. Okay, let's end this thing. So I'm going to leave full screen. And now I'll go answer emails for 8 hours. All right, have a good day, guys. Be careful out there. Stay safe. All the pleasantries. All right. Now time to edit the video.